Today's topic, entrepreneurship, is very topical and relevant to the working environment of the 21st century. Of course, it has been the path to financial success and personal fulfillment for many in North America for many centuries. But today, there are new business areas and indeed social enterprises and even mainstream businesses that see the benefit of the entrepreneurial mindset.
So the context basically, as Madeline said, is to really help unlock untapped purpose-driven talent of people who live inside and outside of St. Jamestown. Because what happens is we always think, well, someone's going to come to us, tap us on the shoulder and say, this is for you. But sometimes we have to be the one doing the tapping ourselves. So there's a quote here, which I love. It's many people keep waiting for opportunities instead of waiting, go ahead, make it for yourself, own your own business. It's your right. And entrepreneurs, they find their value based on their purpose, based on what drives them, what motivates them. Whereas an employee mindset, we're always looking outside of ourselves for validation. I love Simon Sinek. He has something called the golden circle. It's very, very simple. So why do you do what you do? In other words, your purpose. How do you do it? That's your process. And what do you do?
Well, I'm going to talk about how I came to the entrepreneurship journey. I worked for a long time as a consultant in the green building space to consult clients on how to reduce their carbon emissions and energy usage and how to save money running their buildings. I went into that field because I care about the environment and I wanted to make an impact. And at that time, I learned 40% of the global emissions come from buildings. And I thought, wow, that's a place I can really make a dent.
My name's Patrick. I'm founder of a few businesses now, and I'll give you a little bit of background on my story. A passion for the environment has been a constant through my career. That's been my North Star. And I would say my whole career has just been finding out how to try and marry that passion, that driver, with what is practical at a given moment. When I started my career, information systems, this is sort of early 2004, 2005, digitization and information systems were really what was trending at the time. And I found myself working for a geographical information system, really the Microsoft of the GIS world at the time. It was a safe job, a great training ground to learn a lot of skills. But I did feel very pigeonholed, and you know, it stopped challenging me. Decided to go to business school as a way to have a bit of a career shift and move to become an entrepreneur.
My journey started in a remote village in Colombia. I'm from an indigenous background. And from early on, my responsibility was to have a role to play in my village and to take care of my elders. However, education was not an option. The food was far away, and just having basic things were a constant struggle. I built a business for solar powering batteries just because, as I mentioned, I grew up where there was no electricity, so I really wanted to provide those communities that were remote a way to do that.
For me, the importance of getting breadth of experience. I felt quite siloed in a larger corporate, and I like being hands-on in all aspects of a business.
For me, one of the things that was very important when it comes to entrepreneurship was that there was a problem that I was seeing, that I was living. You know, there was a problem of not having electricity on my first business. And I had an education behind me. I wanted to make an impact, and nobody else was offering that. So there wasn't a specific fit of my solution in solving that problem. And so it was the best time. I had a support system, not just in the community, but also people that wanted to back my idea. And so there was all these ecosystem helping that process to be difficult, but at the same time feasible.
What drove me to start a business was a sense of frustration, like Patrick mentioned. The current system, the way I'm being paid to solve problems isn't the way that I feel like is really going to solve the problems. So I just have to test out my own ideas. And that also is the sense of freedom that comes with building your own ideas out. And I think what Paul is saying is echoes with the saying, with freedom comes responsibility. And I was happy to step up and take that responsibility and see where things went.
Yes, I wasn't a very good employee, I have to confess, because I always had my own agenda. I knew what I wanted to do. So when I went to an organization, if they didn't want to do what I wanted to do, I tried to bend them. So I was a bit of an entrepreneur, and I did a few interesting things. One thing I find, I usually tell the story where within an organization, it was an environmental organization, I changed a 8-person, 5-hour meeting, which is like 40 person hours, into a 2-minute stand-up meeting.
Yeah, so I echo what Patrick said, that just take the plunge for us is just kind of sitting down with my business partner and figure out really what's the end goal that we want to achieve. When we decided we just want to empower kids to start doing something now, so then we can get the balls rolling, and then we can start mapping out how do we do that, who's going to help us do that, and then we just get the list of name and start calling people.
And so fear, it's a big, for me, it's a big driver. I consider it a gift, because it really helps you explore and kind of say, well, I'm just going to push more in there. What is behind it? And then it's a catalyst for so many things. Once you see that, you kind of extract yourself from that fear, you can actually see what exactly Wen mentioned, which is, now I know what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it, because fear just clouds everything. So that's a big challenge even for me. On sometimes it's overpowering just because of
How do you overcome that? How do you overcome the fear?
For me, it's knowledge. For me, fear is telling me there's something you don't know. There is something that is unanswered. There is something you need to either outsource, find out. There's something you don't know that you need to know.
One of the biggest challenges was just, I mean, this is related to fear, but it was just trusting the process until I got that first client.
We went in thinking, we'll build this curriculum, be very user-friendly, hand it to the teachers, they'll grab it and teach it to students, and then you'll scale. That didn't work because, teachers are really, really busy and they don't want to just, learn another curriculum, learn something engineering related, and then teach it to the students. So we ran pilot after pilot after pilot in different schools and wondered why, the teachers are not coming after us. And then we went to conferences and presented in different PA Day events and realized, well, that's not what teachers wanted. The reason they were welcoming in the first place was because we were physically there.
In my mind, I had this idea that the easiest path was just to have a career and do something with it, have an education and do something with it. My definition of success now, it's actually build.
It's a journey. It's important to celebrate wins, large and small, and it's important to learn from failures. What success looks like for a startup, could be just completing the website.
I think for me, every day when at the end of the day, I ask myself, have I acted out of my values? Have I been courageous? Have I been truthful to myself? Have I come to the table with an open mind? And have I been kind to myself and those around me? And have I thought of everything that I could do in a given situation? And that brings me a sense of relief and reward in terms of what I see as success.
If someone here and coming from lower social economic background that needs to have a survival job and wants to build a business, basically, what is your best advice to give them, how to start that and how to approach it?
One of the things that I always say to people is that never be afraid to ask for help. When I started my first business, a lot of the funding challenges came because of my age. And when we brought people for the board of advisors, we started to get traction. So there is, especially in Latin America, we respect our elders, and there is a lot of value in your track record.
What I took away and from Paula is your courage, and I love your authenticity and how you engage with your fear and confronting them and digging deeper. That takes a lot of guts.
Yeah, so don't let fear be an inhibitor. Always take action. There are lessons to be learned from failure, and don't let fear of failure inhibit you. Take action and be bold, and it will reward you.
I really have a kind of a vision of people, all the talented people in St. Jamestown who want to move ahead to start getting together and talking about what their ideas are and what their aspirations are, and learning from each other.
Thanking to all the panelists and to you, Madeline, as well, for being one of the moderators and speakers, and yourself, Julia, for sharing, and Sylvia, I'm not there now. Everyone who spoke up, thank you for sharing your comments and questions in the chat.
Thanks, Jasmine.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.